Hi everyone, my name is Shem Opolot. Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to do something very relevant to a lot of people. So I'm going to use pivot tables to create a brief report / dashboard that you can use at work. You work for a company that sells toothpaste. Your boss has given you a bunch of data on the sales from all the different branches, and what you're going to do is create a small dashboard showing them the sales in those specific areas and also how the different salespeople in those specific areas are doing. Stick around and let's get to it. So here is the data. So before we get to using our pivot tables and whatnot, I just want to take a look at the data. So you see here we have about 9,972 rows of data, and I just use Control Shift to keep going up and down just to see Control Shift on the arrows, that is. Okay, so yeah, we have date, sales rep, region, product, color, units, and revenue. What we are interested in this particular case is the regions and the revenue from the different regions as well as the different sales reps. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our pivot table. So we go up to insert, we go to pivot table, and then this little window pops up. I'm going to choose existing worksheet. I'm going to tell it to put the pivot table here, then click OK, and then this little window opens up here on the side. And so to create the summary very quickly, I just look for sales rep and move that down to filters, and I'll explain why in a bit. And then when I go to region, take that down to rows, and then I go and find revenue. And anytime you have a value that is a numerical value, you always put them in values, so you put the revenue there. And as you can see very quickly, our pivot table is created automatically. And then I put sales reps in filters because we shall filter the sales reps up there like that, so we can show sales for different people. As you can see here that the values change. Okay, but for now, just going to select all the items, click OK. All right, so I want the sum of the revenue in the different regions, but I also want that revenue expressed as percentages. So I'm just going to go to revenue and drag it down into values a second time so we can get a second column of that. But then I want to change these values to percentages. So I right click and I go to show values as percentage of grand total. And so we have that. Okay, so now let me just close this really quickly. And so this is what our pivot table looks like right now. Okay, so even just stopping at this stage, this is already very useful. This is a quick summary that you can make, and you can share this with your boss, right? And you can quickly see that Gulu is doing best in comparison to Zira and Soroti. Okay, but then so what I want to do is I want to create some sort of dashboard which tells us how the different salespeople have performed in the different districts or cities. Okay. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little box here that tells me which particular salesperson we are dealing with at any given time, and that we shall pull from that filter drop-down list. And do that, I just sort of put an equal sign, and then I select that cell, and then I use the ampersand, which sort of connects text together. And I'm going to do that, and then use the ampersand again, and then type sales. Okay, and so it's all sales right now because it's all in here. So let me show you why that is useful. So if I unclick them and then select Jessica, for example, and click OK, it changes to Jessica sales, and that's what we see here. Okay, so that makes sense now, I hope. I want to create an empty donut chart from scratch. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to make this smaller. Okay, put that here. To create the donut chart, I need a second column here of the difference between the value in the donut chart. Okay, so this here is the actual sum of the revenue, and then this here is what's left out of 100%. Does that make sense? Because I need to create a donut chart, and donut chart always has two parts in the donut, so I need the other part that has the other percentage. Okay, so now let me go back to select data. Let me go to add. And so here in series name, I select Gulu, which goes in there. Series values, I select this, click OK, and that's good to go here. I'm just going to delete these legends as well as this chart titles for now. I'm going to make the donut hole a bit smaller, so I right click, format data series, go to donut hole size, just reduce that a bit, let's see, to around there. I think that looks good. I want to make 3 copies of this donut chart for Lucira and Sorority. To do that, I'm just going to Control D, so that's 3 of them. Okay, then I can just drag them across, click this and drag it, put it there. And again, you know, every time you do this stuff, you might think, if you're experienced in Excel, then you might have the inclination to think, oh, this could be done in a different way. And that's the beauty about Excel, is that there are almost always about 5 different ways you can do anything. I'm just showing you the way I would do it in this particular case. I want you to format, I just want to remove the outline. No outline. I want to also remove the fill, no fill. Okay, and I want to do the same for this as well. No fill, no outline. Same for this. No fill, no outline. Okay, so then very quickly, I want to align these different charts properly. So what I do is I select them, hold shift, select all of them, then go up to shape format and align. First thing I do is align middle, and then I go back to align and then distribute horizontally, and that sort of like puts them evenly apart from each other, as you can see there. So this one was for Bulu, so then this one we want to change it to Lucira. So I wanted to do it faster that way. There's probably a way to do that, but that might take a bit longer right now. So let me just go to select data, and then to this series, and then let me edit it. And then here in series name, I get Lucira, and then in here, I should delete everything that's in here. Then I select these 2, and click OK, then click OK, and then for this Sorority, I right click, go to select data. Okay, I edit that. Remember, it's showing Gulu there just because I pasted it, but so I have to go back in here and select Sorority for series name, and then in here I delete what's in there, and then I select these 2, and I click OK, and there we have it. Okay, so I click OK. All right, so then the next thing that I want to do is, so I want to put the name of the town right below each of these. Okay, so to do that, I insert a text box. So I'm going to insert a text box right below here. Okay, and so here I type Gulu, and then I change its font. I want a font that's a bit large, so I do impact, just increase that size a bit, center it. Okay, and so I want to change this color, this particular color, to blue. Okay, and I also want to remove this shape's outline as well as its fill. Okay, and then I want to make copies of this again twice, Control D. Okay, so I make those copies, and then I move this one here, and then I move this one there, just because I want to retain the formatting of it. Okay, so very quickly here, I also want to come here and change this color. So the first one, I'm going to leave it as blue, but I just want to make sure that, so I'm going to change its transparency to, so let me make it, what's that, 73, let me do a uniform 75, okay? All right, so then for this one, let's change this to, let's do a red, okay? Let's do a red here. So let's change this solid fill to red, and then so let's change this color, change it to a red, and then let me do the transparency at 75, okay, same as that, okay, and then let me do for this, let me make it green, solid fill, let me do green, do this green right here, and this one, let me make it green as well, and then let me just change its transparency. Okay, so this text box, I want it to be dynamic with the cities. So to do that, I click on the text box, I go to the formula bar, I type an equal sign, and then I just click that and I press enter. Okay, it lost its formatting, so let me just copy this and then format painter and do that. Okay, so then for this I want to do the same thing, equal sign, but then in this case I want it to be for Lozera, press enter, and there you have it. I have to, there must have been a faster way I could have done this, but it's okay. I'll change it, let's go with that, and then for this, same thing, equal sign, Soroti, press enter. Okay, I have to go and copy the formatting again, format painter, click that, okay. And now I just want to change this color, this font color to red, and I want to change this font color to green, okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to add the percentages inside these circles, okay. So what I'm going to do is add another text box. Get a text box. So for this, put this here. And so this is going to be this. I want this text box to be equal to this value right here. Okay. So I press enter. And then I go to the font. Again, I want it to be an epic font. So I come up here, change it to impact. Okay, make it a bit bigger. Change the color of the font to blue in this case. Make that. And then I want to make sure I remove the shape fill and the shape outline. So then I can move this and put it in here centrally. Okay, there we go. And then I want to now make 2 copies of this again, and take one here and take the other one, right there. However, in this case I want this one to be equal to 0 there, and then I want this one to be equal to Soroti's revenue as a percentage. So now that I've changed both of them, I can go in there and copy, and then go to home and go to the format painter and change this and change that. So you have to do this twice. I have do that. Go there, change that as well. I want to change this one's color to red. I want to change this one's color to green. Okay. Now I want these to also be a bit central. So I select all of them. I go back to shape format. I go to align. I do the same thing I did in the beginning. I do align middle. I do distribute horizontally. Okay, so we have them there like that. I want to be able to move all of them. Okay. Align them. I select all of them. I want to align them as well. So I go up here, align middle, distribute horizontally. There we go. Okay, so now I want to select all these charts as well as the words, so that, and the numbers, just so I can move everything together at once. Go up to shape format, go to group them. All right, so as you can see, it's one happy family now. So now I can move them up together, you see that? So I want to move them slightly to the side. There we go. So I move them here. Okay. The next thing I want us to add is I want us to add a text box that tells us whose sales are being shown at any given time. Okay. So to do that, I go to insert, I get another text box, I put it right up here. Then this, put an equal sign, and it's going to be that. Okay, and I'm just going to change this one's font to impact. Okay, increase that. Okay, I'm going to center it. Okay, maybe I should play around with its font a bit. Let me go with black and white for now. This is not an exercise in design, so all my designers out there, please do not harass me for this. But yeah, so when I click Jessica, you see that? So that should change to Jessica. And it should be Jessica Sales. It's just that maybe this box isn't big enough. There we go. So we need to make sure that the names are actually changing, the values are changing too, right? So you see the values are changing in real time. Okay, so we're almost done. The next thing I want us to do is, instead of manually doing that, I want to add a slicer. A slicer is a way for us to, it's like a very quick button so that we can just click exactly what we want to do in real time and everything changes. Okay, so in the pivot table, we go to PivotTable Analyze, and we go to Insert Slicer, and we want the slicer to be for the sales reps. So the beautiful thing about pivot tables is, once I create the slicer and I go into PivotTable Analyze, the slicer that we create will already be attached to the data. Okay, and so if I click Adam, you see what happens? Okay, good. So now I just want to change the way our slicer looks. I want to make the slicer look a bit better. So I want to see if I can change a couple of things in the layout. So the number of columns is what I want to change. Let's just do 2 columns. There we go. Okay, make sure I've excluded someone. Yeah, so all of them are in there. All right, I want to put everything together, so I'm going to select this and select this as well and group them so that I can move them together as well. Okay, so now I do want to move it down a bit. There we go. And then I want to move this slicer up here. Now we can also add a timeline. When we look inside our data, we see here we have a date column. You see that? So we can also add a timeline, which can allow you to look at the different sales in a specific period of time. Okay? So we go back to the pivot table, click inside the pivot table, so at this window called PivotTable Analyze comes up. Click click on it, we go to insert timeline, and then it's smart enough to look for the date within the data, and we click OK, and then so it gives us this like box as well that has all the periods, and what we want is years. So let's select years, and then let's just make this a bit smaller to match our slicer, just for aesthetic purposes. As much as I'm not a designer, but I don't want this to look completely terrible. But one of the things that I can do is have the slicer for the sales reps as well as the timeline. I'd like them to move around together as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a shape over them, and then group them together. Okay, so I'm going to put a shape here. I'm going to remove its fill, no fill, no outline. Then I select that, select the slicer, hold shift, select that, and select the shape. Let me start with the shape outside just because it's invisible now, it might be harder to find. Select this as well, select this as well, and then right click and I group all of them. So that way we can move the slicer and that together as well. So now we are pretty much done. Okay, so now this is very quick, very basic, but we have everything that we want. And so now you have your quick dashboard here. If you want to know how many sales did Jessica make, you click that and you see how many she made at this branch, how many she made at that branch, how much she made at that branch. Okay, you click on Mike and everything changes as well. We can also select the year. You see there, we click 2015, or we can click 2016 and you see everything changes, or we can click 2017, or we can select all of them, and we can also clear these filters, and now we have all the sales at once with everything selected. And there you have. And we are done. We have our quick sales dashboard, and now you're ready to impress your boss. Well, there we have it. That took a bit longer than I thought, but very useful for you to create a really quick dashboard using pivot tables. This could be very useful for you in your work or in your business. I will release a blog article that complements some of the concepts that I shared here in case I moved over some things very fast. Let me know in the comments below if anything was unclear, or if this was valuable to you, or if you're going to use this tomorrow as soon as possible. And don't forget to subscribe and like and comment and all the things. Thank you, and see you next time.